Afternoon. This afternoon, we are very excited to bring to you some very good news. Our C&I department, led with Dyslexia Grant with TEA, and Kristen Besaw and Ms. Pierce are here to tell you the good news of us receiving that grant and going over what it will bring to Bryan ISD students and faculty.
Okay, so Kristen and I are going to talk to you about the TEA Dyslexia Grant. And when Kristen and I were collaborating on the opportunity that we could have using some of these funds and looking at needs, we first really came to the need for really strong foundational reading instruction in Tier 1. Obviously, as we have had school as normal this year, but everything has been, but normal. And as we've gone through our reading academy and we have this really common, strong content knowledge across our elementary campuses on what really strong reading instruction should look like, we have just seen a need. Our teachers have asked for additional resources so that they can provide that really explicit phonics instruction, because we want to get our kids to grade level, but what we are battling now is filling all those gaps and accelerating that instruction. So they have requested that throughout the year, and we've tried to provide as much as we could, and knowing that we need some more to meet the needs of what our students need. And then with the changes in the Dyslexia Handbook, the requirements for screening, we've also seen an increase in the number of students who are qualifying for Dyslexia Intervention. So that's a little bit of the background of our needs.
So in late January, TEA put out a grant opportunity. They called it the Dyslexia Grant. And it's $50 million over 2 years. It's a competitive grant that all districts in the state of Texas had the option to apply for. So we applied for that grant, and we did receive an award of $2.3 million for that grant. The grant's purpose is to provide that high quality teacher training regarding dyslexia and also provide opportunities for teachers to be able to receive additional credentialing related to dyslexia. And so we'll talk about how we looked at addressing those needs as we wrote the grant. So when we started into the grant, you know, you always want to start big, right? You think, what is the Cadillac? What is the absolute best for our students in our district in terms of serving all of our needs? And so as we wrote, we kept that scope big, hence the $2.3 million price tag. And so that scope included the Tier 1 foundational skills to address what Charlene just talked to you about. Also, dyslexia training for this additional staff that we may need in order to help serve those students who have dyslexia or dysgraphia. And then also that credentialing.
So I'm going to talk to you about that Tier 1 foundational skills piece. In seeing this need, we have been researching really all year long what we could use to help supplement our current curriculum to provide for what teachers have been asking for, just needing more than we have in the past to help fill those gaps. And we landed on Reading Horizons for a number of reasons. First of all, Reading Horizons is a very explicit, systematic phonics curriculum for grades K through 3. It aligns not only to the science of teaching reading, which we're going through with Reading Academy, but it also aligns really strongly to what dyslexia intervention looks like. So if we are providing this really strong in our Tier 1 instruction, then we're also serving our students with dyslexia, not just when they go for their dyslexia intervention, but when they are in their Tier 1 instruction with their teacher as well. So we're really excited about that piece. We brought that to principals and teachers last week, and they're really, really excited with the demonstration that we brought, and thank you, thank you, thank you, and yes, we will make this work. And so there's a lot of excitement in that from teachers to principals, the instructional coaching team as well. And so that is for the English side. Obviously for our bilingual and our dual language, there is a Spanish foundational skills program as well. It's El Camino for kindergarten and El Próximo Paso for the other grades. And so our bilingual and dual teachers will get trained and materials in both, because obviously our students need both of those. And while they are different curriculums, because obviously they're two different languages, and how you learn to read in Spanish is slightly different from how you learn to read in English. But what we'll look at is the methodology and pedagogy that is very strong in Reading Horizons will be then something that our dual language and bilingual teachers can apply when they're giving their instruction on in the Spanish curriculum.
So the second piece of the grant was the actual dyslexia intervention itself. We currently do have professionals in our district who are trained in the 2 dyslexia interventions we provide to both our English-speaking students and also our bilingual students. The scope of the grant, however, allows us to widen that net of professionals who would be able to provide that dyslexia intervention to students in Spanish and in English. And the programs that we're currently using is Reading by Design, as well as Esperanza and the Wells WOW program. So as you know or may not know, dyslexia is a lifelong learning disability. It is something that can be remediated for students, but it's not something that ever goes away for them. And these programs have been in the district for a while now, and we see really good success. So we're excited to be able to train more teachers to be able to serve our students. The third piece of the grant was for dysgraphia. So students who have dysgraphia have trouble with handwriting. They have trouble recalling and actually putting pencil to paper to remember those letter shapes and then eventually maybe the sounds that go with them. And so for students who struggle with that handwriting piece, we currently use Handwriting Without Tears, and again, the grant allows us to widen the scope of the professionals who are able to deliver that intervention for our students. And then the final piece is the teacher credentialing part. So we will be offering teachers the option to become certified structured literacy dyslexia interventionists. This is through Region 4, and it is going to be a program accredited by the International Dyslexia Association. And it dovetails right in with our Reading by Design program that we're already using. So we're excited that we'll be able to offer this credentialing should teachers choose to pursue that route. It costs about $4,500 to complete the program, and so the grant will pay for that. And then the other part is actually identifying students with dyslexia. With the Dyslexia Handbook Revision that happened this past fall and actually went into effect in January, all students who need to be evaluated for dyslexia must receive a full and individual evaluation now. And that means an increased burden on our special education diagnosticians and LSSPs. So the grant will allow us to reimburse teachers who choose to take this route, not only for a master's degree with that diagnostician certification, or if they already have their master's, that certification. And the grant currently allows up to 5 the first year and 5 the second year. So we're really excited about what that will mean in terms of having our students evaluated so that we can get them in interventions should they have that learning disability.
Quick question.
Yeah,
Is there
absolutely.
any travel involved in this, or do they do it all online?
So there is some travel. Most of it is online, or the intervention providers will come to our district to provide it. So that is built into the cost of the grant.
So, but our teachers won't have to travel?
No,
Okay, good. That's
yeah, that will be good. Any other questions?
This is amazing.
We're very, very excited. My understanding is one of the largest awards in the state. And so I think it's just because we chose to do all the things. And it's going to make a huge difference for our teachers and for our students.
You know, to train us now, and with this money available to do that, and then once we've used all that money up, which can happen quicker than you think, we'll be so ready. It's not like just these kids in history are the ones that are going to benefit from them. It's like now it can be the next 20 years. So.
That's right. Very exciting.
So, this is probably a Barbara question. So Barbara, the other reading programs that we have in place now, they don't come with, they didn't come with any component to where we can just, instead of buying another program, or we can just buy the piece and add it on to that. And so if we're buying this program now for these children, what are they using right now?
That's a great question. And Ms. Spenfer, that's actually the first question I asked these two ladies to my right. I said, well, what do we currently use? We just did the adoption for HMH. Were its resources for this particular area? And they had a great answer to me. We do have resources in place through our publishing company that we partnered with under the last proclamation. However, as Mrs. Pierce noted, it's not as explicit as this particular resource, which focuses on just this aspect of literacy development. Charlene, would you like to elaborate?
And you're exactly right. It does not, it is a supplement for the phonics piece. So we will use it in addition, and it doesn't mean we're getting rid of everything else. So for that phonics piece, we will put this in place for our Tier 1 instruction in the classroom. The other pieces can also be used for intervention. The comprehension piece, which is where our current adoption we have found is the strongest, will continue to be used. So it will be a supplement in addition to not completely taking the place of.
Would you also speak to the sustainability of the resources?
Yes. So in the 2-year grant, what will happen is this first year is a large part of the cost will be all of the materials for our teachers, and then the professional development that comes with that. And so with that is, before school starts, there's a full day from the Reading Horizons team to train the teachers in the methodology and the pedagogy for teaching it, so they are set up for the beginning of the school year. Later in the fall, there's another day of training to look at, okay, how is it going? Now let's look at what you will be doing for the rest of the year to set them up in those smaller chunks. And in addition, the Reading Horizons coaching team will work with my elementary ELA instructional coaches at each individual campus to come in and do job-embedded PD. The same thing will happen for year two. Year two will train obviously any new teachers we have, and then do kind of a part two, level 2 training for our current teachers. We'll continue that job embedded training throughout the year, and at the end of year 2 of the grant, my instructional coaching team will be trained so that they are now Reading Horizons trainers and coaches, and so we are now being able to, we already have the materials, and then our coaches will then do the rest of the training from year to year to year.
So the rest of the resources that we have will continue in the classrooms across the district. This will be added in as a supplement.
I like that model. My question was for teachers that are part of this grant who do the extra credentialing. My concern is that, the grant pays for their credentialing and they're here with us, and then they take that credentialing to some other district. So what's the carrot for them to stay?
So one of the requirements of the grant from TEA is that we put in an addendum that they will sign to say that they'll agree to stay in the district for a period of 3 years. So, yes.
Thank you.
Does not have specifically to do with this program, but I know that Ms. Caravine and I were on a call recently with something that will be coming in front of the board soon, another Chapter 313 agreement. And one of the decision makers focused on dyslexia. I mean, he specifically asked what we were doing and how could he help within the district on dyslexia. So from a timing standpoint, from a just know that there are a lot of, this has really much bigger impacts throughout the district than just the impact that it has on that teacher or that child, so.
Excellent. You can give them my name. If they want to talk to me. I'd be glad to talk to them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
All right, moving up to business services next. Discuss and consider approval of the contracts for the fire alarm replacement project at Bryan High Fieldhouse.
Okay, so this is the start of the second phase of the fire alarm replacements. Remember last summer we did 4 or 5 campuses as phase 1. Now we're into phase 2, and this will be the final phase of it. And there's 2 of those are going to be brought to you all today. First one is Bryan High Fieldhouse. That one, it was deemed a priority project through our maintenance department during bond planning. That system is obsolete, and parts are starting to fail, and it's getting harder and harder to find available parts at a reasonable cost for replacement. And we opened bids on this a couple of weeks ago, and we received 5 proposals for this project. And then after all of our evaluations with checking references and then also their prior history with Bryan ISD, GNR Fire Detection is the recommended contractor in the amount of $53,639.04. And of course, this is funded through the 2020 bond.
Just for a matter of context, was this surprising, or is this looking fairly decent considering the current environment?
So these had an original bond budget of just over $1.4 million total for phase 1 and phase 2. As of our March bond oversight meeting, which included all of phase 1 and a vast majority of the design work, we've only spent $133,000 so far. So it is way under budget. I don't know if during the facility assessment times, if it was a greater project than was originally thought of, but luckily all of our wiring and everything and most of it is able to remain in place. We're just really replacing a panel and devices inside and adding where we need to. So it is coming way under what we originally anticipated, but whether it is high in this market, that I don't know. I'm just comparing it to bond plan.
Can't believe you didn't start with that. That's,
I move approval of the fire alarm replacement at Bryan High Fieldhouse in the amount of $53,639.04, awarded to GNR Fire Detection as presented.
second.
We have a motion by Ms. Waller and a second by Mr. Stasny. If there's no further discussion, then all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries as moved. And we'll move down to the second fire alarm replacement project at Long Intermediate.
Yeah, so this one is for Jane Long Intermediate, and it's in the same category as Bryan High Fieldhouse, where it's just the age of the system is obsolete and parts are difficult to get. This one, we received 6 proposals, and after all the evaluations on this, that GNR Fire Detection is also the recommended one for this project in the amount of $75,617.35.
This was, of course, that was built about the same time as Rayburn. Has Rayburn already been done, or is it coming up later, or what's the plan?
I'm trying to remember if Rayburn was in phase 1 last summer. That I'd have to check on.
Okay.
I would have to go with our maintenance department too, and
That's-
see why is one, yes, but you're right, why is one possibly not on the list and the other one is fine? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have that complete answer for that one,
All right.
but I can check.
Well, it sounds like we might have some bond money left over if we, you know,
It's already spent.
if we. Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Don't get excited.
I move approval of the fire alarm replacement at Long Intermediate in the amount of $75,617.35, awarded to GNR Fire Detection as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Waller and a second by Ms. Binford. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries as moved. And now we'll get down to the roof replacement at Long Intermediate.
Yeah, so 2 roof replacements as well today. Jane Long Intermediate, that roof was deemed a priority project during the bond planning. And if you remember, when we replaced Navarro's roof in the 2014 bond, I believe, that we had that contractor do some patching to carry us into one of our next bonds for the replacement of Jane Long as well as Sam Rayburn. And now that project has been designed out and bid out, and we received bids April 21st, and for Jane Long, we did receive 9 bids on this project, and after evaluations through all of those various bids, Lessman Roofing and Sheet Metal is the recommended contractor for the project in the amount of $2,268,000. And this one, we did have a budget of $2.24 million, so it came in just over budget, and it is funded through the 2020 bond.
Is this all metal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I brought this up before when we were all in the planning stages, but it doesn't take too much research to see that a metal building can last a lot longer than what these lasted. And I think I was told then that it really wasn't done properly or something along those lines, that it maybe should have lasted longer. Because really, I mean, you pay a lot for a metal building, but then you expect to get a really long life out of it. And I mean, I happen to be in an office that has a metal roof on it that's still functional, that was built in about 1977, so the same roof. and I'm just using that as an example, but I just wonder, I guess the reason I'm bringing it up now is that I don't know what the specifications are, and if we're hopefully doing something different than what we did when these schools were built, to make sure that down the road, we're not in the same boat, and then, well, it's deteriorated, this isn't right, or the insulation's wrong, or something along those lines. Are you familiar enough with this to give us some kind of, I guess, assurance that this is really going to be a long-lasting solution?
Well, with Long in particular had hail damage from the April 2021 storm. So, and it was written in that insurance report as well that one had hail damage. And I don't know if it's a coating issue that was put on the metal when it was manufactured, but there's a lot of rust spots through both of those, both Rayburn and Long, through the years. And I don't know if that was a manufacturer defect when it was originally made. I'm trying to remember when Rayburn and Long were both built. I believe it was in the late.
I think this is 95, I think.
95, was it mid-90s? So, but how it was installed then, I have no clue. But now we do have different codes and stuff we have to go through, and confident with Beam that, and in our specifications, we have eliminated a lot of the, I guess, substandard metal manufacturers. So we only have the more quality manufacturers in our specs to hopefully eliminate that problem.
Well, I appreciate it. It sounds like you've got, you're on top of that. Certainly you're absolutely correct. They're not all metal products are the same, and
Right.
They have either a heavy galvanized base with paint coating over it, or they can be much more basic. And
Thicker grade metal and everything else too, so.
So you mentioned hail damage.
Mhm.
Is any part of this covered by insurance or no? How does that work?
Mr. Beasel?
Yes, ma'am, and that, we probably should have discussed that as far as how that was processed. But with these two facilities, then this Long and the next one, there was some hail damage on that, and under the insurance policy as it was in 2021 was different from the 2020 storm. And so there was a much higher deductible on that. So the funding that would have come from that would have not covered that. So that funding was put together to cover, basically, some of that's going to cover the CTE roof, which was damaged in the hailstorm, and that was combined with that to make that one work. And so this one had been planned in the bond project, so that was left in the bond project.
So it's basically the lesser of the evils in terms of deductibles and those kind of things?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, there were several, and so they were combined to put together one for the insurance claim and leave these with the bond as they were scheduled already.
Got it. I move approval of the re-roof of Long Intermediate to Lessman Roofing and Sheet Metal in the amount of $2,268,000 as presented.
Second.
Have a motion by Dr. Harlan and a second by Ms. Dwayne. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries as moved. And I think we have the mirror for this first one at Rayburn up next.
Yeah, so just like Long is Rayburn Intermediate. This one we did have, let's see, I guess we did receive the same amount of bids. 9 bids were received on it as well. And after evaluations, Lessman Roofing and Sheet Metal is the recommended contractor for this. And for some reason, don't understand why, but it is in the amount of $2,512,725. And after looking through bid tab, it seemed like they all had different numbers versus Long, which are very similar campuses. So I don't know what the bidders kind of thought of on that, but And this project is funded through the 2020 bond.
So where is that company? Are they local?
They're in Conroe. I believe we had one local roofing company bid on the project, if I remember the bid tabs correct, and they did not, I don't think they gave us a full bid. I think they left out one of the alternates.
I move approval of the re-roof of Rayburn Intermediate to Lessman Roofing and Sheet Metal in the amount of $2,512,725 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Harlan and a second by Ms. Dwayne. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move down into teaching and learning and consider a purchase request of over $50,000 for Reading Horizons.
Little over 50.
Okay, as described earlier in the grant presentation, now comes the two purchase items for said grant. So Ms. Besaw is here to explain both purchases. Let's begin with the first one, Reading Horizons, please.
The Reading Horizons purchase is, will cover the amount of professional development, will cover materials, and
Training of the instructional coaches at the end of year 2, and myself, so that our team then becomes self-sufficient in training in the future.
And the total, Ms. Besaw, is approximately a little over $1 million.
yes, well, 1.3.
And this is for the English-speaking portion of the program. The second agenda item will be reflective of the bilingual version of the program.
Will the teachers, as they're being trained, will that be on a staff development day? Will that be an extra paid day? How's that going to work and how does it fit into this money?
The training will be built into the professional development days that are already on the calendar. So there'll be a summer day built into their teacher equivalency days, and then as well as when they return in August.
And the other part will be that job embedded piece where it will be during PLC. It will be that we've come to observe in your classroom, and now we're going to meet with you during your conference period to follow up. That'll be the other piece.
Thanks.
I want to commend y'all on addressing the sustainability of this. We've had many, many grants in the past where basically you get some money and then, and in some cases, obligated to continue the program at district expense. And sometimes you could maybe do that, but it was always, I think to some folks, very attractive to well, this is grant money, but if you can't keep it going, which you've made it clear that you believe you can, then that's sometimes just not worth going through all that headache just to end, reach a financial dead end. So anyway, that's great that y'all addressed it, and I think that really makes it that much more of a great deal for us.
And I too, and I thought about this a minute ago, I can't even imagine all the, I say hoops, but all the administrative work you had to do to get this grant, because to get that much money, there's no telling what all you had to do and turn in and wait for approval and then do some more and wait for approval and find out what our needs were and get that sent out. So I know, there's just no telling how long you guys have been working on this, so thank you so much for that.
Well, and we have a great team behind us, Charlene and myself, the bilingual department, the dyslexia specialists, the special education staff. It was definitely a group effort, so thank you.
I move approval of the purchase of Reading Horizons in the amount not to exceed $1,020,193 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Waller and a second by Ms. Benford. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries as moved. And now we have the second part.
So the second piece is the bilingual piece that addresses phonics instruction for our Spanish speakers. There is a kindergarten piece and a first, second grade piece, and that amount is about $253,000.
I move approval of the purchase of the El Camino, El Éxito, and El Próximo Paso al Éxito in the amount not to exceed $252,800 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Dwayne and a second by Dr. Davis. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Thank you.
And no rude comments about my Spanish.
I was gonna say,
Thank you.
well done.
You did a beautiful job.
That was beautiful.
Like, none of you, none of you.
I was impressed.
You know, normally there's a pause with the really large numbers. Now there was a pause with, okay, who gets to read this one?
Thank you for being brave. We
Good,
appreciate it.
Fran.
All right, next up is to discuss and consider approval of Proclamation 2022 Health Education.
Got that turned on there. Good afternoon, everyone. Get the slideshow up here. There we go. Okay.
Y'all do make me feel better about all the problems I have with technology.
There we are. All right, so again, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to present. This is Proclamation 2022 Instructional Materials Adoption. Proclamation 2022 called for instructional materials for K through 12 health education classes, and then K through 12 physical education teacher instructional materials. So the process for this that we went through, teachers reviewed the instruction materials that were available. Campus administrators approved the committee members that were recommended. We had representation from all grade levels. We had elementary school physical education teachers from the intermediate schools, health and physical education teachers from the middle schools and from the high schools. So all grade levels were represented, and the campus principals approved those members. So samples of the materials were available to all of the teachers. These were made available through the digital samples link that was sent to all of the health and physical education teachers. Physical materials were available upon request to be able to look at those printed materials and go through those. Teachers from each campus were asked to review and then give feedback to the committee members for their particular grade level. Then at the committee meetings, we discussed that feedback as well as materials that were available and the input that was given from each one of those grade levels and campuses. We had a public preview of the materials that was made available. This was posted on the district website, and then the physical materials were available for public to preview and to give feedback on if they so desired. So the top choices from the materials that were available, committee members nominated publishers based on the input that was received from the teachers at the various grade levels. The top two publishers were invited to a preview, and the School Health Advisory Council had an opportunity to review these materials through the digital link as well and provide feedback at the last meeting. There were no concerns or questions brought forth by the SHAC committee related to the materials that were available. So we had a publisher showcase for all teachers, K through 12. Physical education teachers were invited, health teachers were invited as well. The feedback was given based on the materials that were presented, and the teachers voted on what materials they wanted to move forward with. So the showcase included few presenters that were recommended. So these are the recommendations that were selected by the committee to be presented. Health 1 and 2 materials that were available from Goodhart Wilcox. These materials are 100% aligned with the TEKS. They are also very user-friendly. The material is engaging. It's both in print and digitally available, so students are able to use that online as well. And then there's support available in the instructional materials from the publisher. So major topics of the health education materials involved in high school health include those listed here: promoting lifetime wellness and health, mental and emotional health and well-being, developing healthy lifestyles, avoiding hazardous substances, establishing healthy relationships, protecting your health, and then understanding disorders and diseases. At the K through 5 level, Quaver Health and Physical Education is what the teachers really liked. This is also a very interactive program. It provides the teachers opportunity to present materials to the students using a digital format. They can play videos in the classroom, have the students participate in physical activities moving along with those resources. This was very well received by our elementary school teachers. They really like the idea of being able to include this in their physical education classes, and then also to be able to teach the health TEKS at the elementary level as well. So our recommendation to the board is to adopt the full commissioner's list of instructional materials in the event that there's an issue with a publisher or the need for additional resources based on student need. The administration recommends adopting the full list from TEA. This also allows for flexibility in future purchases of material in the event that the courses are added in our district. Are there any questions for me related to this process?
I move approval of the BISD Health and Physical Education Proclamation 2022 Instructional Materials Selection, Recommendations, and Adoption.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Davis and a second by Mrs. Waller. If there is no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries as moved. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Next up, we have Human Resources, and consider approval of superintendent's final recommendations for professional contracts.
I'm here one more time. The last time you'll see me here to make contract recommendations, and you have a list of recommendations in front of you, and I'm asking that you look at them and approve recommendation for their contract renewals.
I move approval of the recommendation of the superintendent to renew and issue non-Chapter 21 contracts, probationary contracts, and term contracts for the 2022-2023 school year for professional staff.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Harlan and a second by Ms. Dwayne. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank
as
you.
moved. Thank you. And next up, Technology Services.
She wants money too.
Funds
Yes,
grant.
sir.
Yes.
It is ESSER funds, though, so that'd be a little bit easier.
So I'm here to discuss our classroom touch displays and ask for district-wide classroom displays to be implemented. And let's go through a little history. So I wanted to go on the way back because many of you may not know about what we've been through to get to our touch displays. So in 2014, during bond planning back then, we did a study and compared projectors and the replacement of bulbs over their lifetime and compared it to the new displays. And compared it to the new displays that were coming out at the time that we were just not sure of if it was worth the investment. But back then, after doing that long-term study, we realized we needed to move forward with a display of some sort. And we decided on New Line as our vendor back then. And then in 2017, we moved forward with installing them in SFA, Ross, and Davila as part of that bond addition at Davila, as well as the new campuses. Then, since then, in 2018 to 2022, campuses have taken it on themselves, or with some money that maybe they had left from Title, or money that I was able to give them, to get an additional 357 displays using their local and Title funds. And one of the things that that's really telling about is that they weren't waiting for it to be given to them. They really saw that it was a good investment and decided to spend their own money, and that's always a really good sign. So in 2020, when ESSER came out and we were looking at those ESSER 2 funds, one of the things that was discussed was implementing this district-wide for all teachers. And so we earmarked about $2.5 million for all those classrooms to be installed. And I wanted to share a little bit, because we get to talk about them, and I hardly get to talk about this kind of stuff, because this is the fun stuff for me, is the instructional feedback. And you'll notice the first one up there is Lane Boobin, principal at Bryan High School. And when he can get on board with something technology, you know it's good. And so you can tell that he's already implemented them in his classrooms, several classrooms, not all, about 10, I think. And he got really positive feedback from all those teachers, even the ones who may have initially struggled with technology. They were able to quickly adopt the New Line touch displays. And then another one I really like is if you jump down to that third one where it says, Allie said that she likes the New Line better because when you are doing a problem, it is a lot easier to work with when you make a mistake. Jacob said you don't have to use a different tool or change the settings to erase. You just have to change your hand position. And so those are a couple of our 4th grade kids that are using it over at Henderson. So I really believe in this. I think it will bring some stability to classrooms. They're easy to use for our teachers. And we already have a team that trains and is there on site during implementation. So I do have a cute little video I wanted to take, and I'm almost done. So let's see. Matthew, can you click that? Thank you. So I believe this is a pre-K classroom. Oh, maybe it won't load.
It's still buffering.
So what's cool is you can see multiple kids can touch on the board, and she's a pre-K practicing her letters on the board, so it's highly engaging. She's also going to do some math where she counts the dolphins and fills in the number there below it. Anyway, it's a very cute video. If y'all have the link, you take a look at it later.
She's doing it. She's doing it. Give her a
Yeah,
minute.
she is. I wish y'all could
there.
hear it.
Come on, you can do it.
You can hear her working through it.
Over the hump.
Look at there.
And so you can see in this case, they're using it as a center. Yeah. Anyway, I love the video. Thanks to our instructional technology team that went out and got that for me. And so here's a breakdown of how the install would take place at each campus, or the cost per campus. We initially estimated the 2.5, as I said before, this spring and in the fall. We completed walkthroughs at all campuses so we could determine what we really needed. We requested from 3 DIR vendors, and we received 2 quotes or bids back. And then the winning bid was the 1864216.08 total. Since that bid came out, though, we've actually had some campuses that did not want to wait, and they actually purchased a few more. So you'll notice on our list of campuses, some are missing. The only reason they would be missing is because they've either already bought them or had them as part of construction, so that they don't need any more. Or maybe they just need a few, maybe in their library areas. So anyway, what's nice is Barbara Ibarra came to me and said that she has some title funding. And so we'll even be able to free up a little bit more ESSER funds to kind of do a split fund with this purchase as well.
So you weren't able to negotiate free shipping?
I was not, but did you see how much they were charging? $99 for shipping. So I'm not sure about that, but we're holding them to it.
Isn't that weird? That's what I said.
What is that ship?
So even though right now we've updated that it's going to be less, we've already spoken to the vendor. They already understand that we will probably reduce the total, but we're going to go ahead and ask for the full bid price right now. So we have that room to adjust as needed.
Well, I don't like big numbers, but I'll do it.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry, what about our new school? What,
It is already part of the package for construction. So
Am I-
moving forward, all of our schools will have it. Just kind of like we did in 2014, we kind of set that standard. And so SFA and Ross were built with them. And so our Sadbury will also have it as part of construction, but it won't be included in this cost.
Do we have any idea on availability?
So this is the newest board, and that's why we were able to take a little time, because they're actually building them now, and we expect delivery to come in this summer. So it will be a staged rollout. But we've been doing that all year with the staged rollouts with other
Do they
installs.
install or do we install?
They're installing. What's nice is in this bid, they're also going to make it pretty. So they're going to go in, and if there is some kind of board already there, they're going to remove what needs to be removed and make it look nice. And so that was also part of this bid.
What is the track record on these devices for longevity?
So at minimum, this already comes with, and before I say, I'm going to ask Rob, how long is the warranty on it right now? 7 years? I think it's 7 years. But we anticipate them to last much longer. If you think about your displays or TVs at home, how they'll typically last longer. The 7 years, though, gives us immediate swap out. So the vendor will be able to provide us the board. They even talked about some that would be stocked on site. So that if we have one go down, we'll go and immediately swap it out. So.
amazing.
All in?
Sure. Anyone else?
I move approval of the Pirano Consulting as the awarded vendor for the district-wide classroom touch display project totaling $1,833,592.13.
Second.
Is it not the 864?
Yes, it's the bigger number in
Oh,
yellow.
it's not on here.
That's not what's on here.
So I don't have, okay, let me try it again. Let's delete that one. I move approval of the Pirano Consulting as the awarded vendor for the district-wide classroom touch display project totaling $1,864,216.08.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Swain and a second by Ms. Binford. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Do the big numbers.
So how many gazillion dollars have we approved today?
We are into the big numbers.
Yep. Yeah, a lot going on, which is good. Now's that time. This board will now convene in closed session to discuss the following items as allowed by Texas Government Code, Chapter 551.074, .071, .072, and .0821. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in the open meeting. It is now 12:56. Board reconvened in open session at 1:55 PM. No action was taken in closed session.
I move that the Board of Trustees terminate at the end of the contract term the probationary contract of Amanda Thompson in the best interest of the district and authorize the superintendent to provide the employee notice of this action.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Binford and a second by Dr. Davis. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries as moved, done. And if there's no further agenda or no further business, we are adjourned.